Welcome to Monkey Chatter. Monkey Chatter is a podcast by three great friends who have different perspectives on all things wellness. So let's jump right into today's topic. Welcome to Monkey Chatter. This is Lara, and as usual, I'm here with Amy and Michelle. And today we are interviewing our very own Amy. And this is part 2 of a 3-part series where we are interviewing each other and giving you guys a little more insight into who each of us is. So we're going to start with focusing on Amy today. And Amy, what do we say about Amy?
What do you say to my face versus
What do we say
people?
to my face? And I've known Amy for quite a while now. I think since 2011, maybe 2012.
Wow. Has it?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we worked together for a little while, and then kept in touch, obviously, afterwards with Michelle. We've traveled together. We've done presentations together. Amy is a certified fitness and nutrition coach. She's also a running coach. She is also an avid trail runner herself, has run marathons and other things. And she's a dog lover, a rescue dog lover, also rescuing dogs. I'll let you do this, Aim, but we got to do a shout out to your husband Tony's organization, Archie Blankets Across America. So we'll do that as well.
Yeah.
And she's the owner of Bit by Bit Nutrition. So I'd say, and the founder of a community workout group through her church.
What am I the founder of?
You're a founder, and she's the founder of this awesome little ladies workout group at her church, or a local church, called Faithfully Fit. Welcome to the show, Amy.
Thanks. This is so freaking awkward. I'm not even gonna lie. Really awkward. And I'm afraid what you guys have in store.
We do have some questions for our guest of the day. Do you want to take it away, Michelle, with a couple questions to get Amy rolling?
Sure, I'll start with a really easy one because Amy and I have talked about this in the past, but since I am a really resistant fitness and nutrition client, I would classify myself as probably I would just say I'm a difficult client. I mean, I guess there's no other way to put it. So it's sort of a 2-part question. How would you encourage somebody who is so resistant? Right? Like they're there, they show up, but they show up, with their feet dragging. And part 2, is there a point where you would just end the coaching relationship? Does it get just too frustrating and you're like, you gotta go? So have fun.
Wow. That is a loaded question. It's so funny. I'm more nervous about what you guys might ask than if some stranger was on here doing a for real interview. Okay. So first part, resistant. So yes, you are a resistant little creature.
I wear it proudly. I'm honest.
But so are a lot of people. You're not, you certainly are not alone in that by any stretch. I think you just are more vocal about your resistance maybe than some people are. And because, we obviously know each other really well, you're even more vocal about it maybe. But, so yeah, I mean, I definitely run into resistance. So one of the things that I will say this to my faithfully fit ladies and, to anybody really, is I think one of the big things is trying to figure out what is one thing, I call it the low hanging fruit. So is there one little thing that we can do? And Michelle, I know you've told this story before, but about the day that I said, can you just at least drink your water? It can be something, because a lot of times if you can find just one thing, then we can build up momentum. So with the nutrition, sometimes it takes freaking forever to, to start making bigger steps. But if we can find just one thing that somebody can have success with and then start to snowball that into something else. On the fitness side, one of the things that I always tell my faithfully fit ladies is do something that you like. I think for the people and for those fitness gurus that are out there that say, oh, you have to do this or you have to do that, like you have to run or you have to do CrossFit or you have to do yoga or whatever it is. Like, I don't care what you do, just move. Like, even if it's walking your dog. I mean, for goodness sake, I haven't run into anybody who is like resistant to everything movement related. So the goal would be to find something that they like to do. And if it's like ballroom dancing or square dancing or something, I don't know, just pick something to move and don't let I would say don't let people tell you that you have to fit some sort of mold to be, to do fitness, quote unquote, sort of thing. So I don't know. That's my answer to that. And you're not resistant to everything.
And yeah, that is true. I'm not resistant to everything.
Oh.
And I think just as a resistant client, like if I can speak, maybe a little insight for other resistant clients, you might. For me, there's something about having to do the initial resistance to just in case and maybe this is just like an old pattern, but if you come in resistant, then the expectations of you are less. Like people are just so happy you came and did the one thing, right? So maybe that's part of it too, because you don't want to screw up or you don't want to do it wrong or you feel weird. But if you come in and you're like, oh, well, I don't want to do this anyway, right? And then it just sort of shifts the expectations around what they're going to want you to do or how you just have to do it, sort of.
Yeah.
And people are like, yay, she, tried. And then for me, it's sort of gradually over time as then you feel a little more comfortable and you're like doing the thing and then sort of the resistance goes away eventually around that one thing. I'm still resistant around the other, like, let's do more weight. Oh, let's not. Like, clearly, let me just, but yeah.
And the level of resistance, and I can, like, I like to work out. I like, truly on most days, I really do. But the level, like, even I have resistance and the resistance is not the same every day. Like, so it's like, I think it's normal. We were just at a meeting the other week where they talked about, the human brain is wired to conserve calories and basically survive. So, we're kind of wired that way, left to our own devices.
No, I can't do that. I will waste away to nothing.
Yeah. But like, and again, I think finding a community is super helpful. But it has to be the right community. Certainly I've been in some situations where it's not the right community and it doesn't make it fun. So it just makes it more resistant, but yeah.
Yeah. And then the account, well, that's a whole other conversation, but
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Sarah, your turn. That was fun.
Well, I don't think you answered the other question.
Oh,
What
yeah.
other question?
Two.
Oh, would you fire somebody? Funny. Yes. Yes, and I have.
Say more.
Yeah.
Let go.
Wow.
Like, what happens?
Yeah. So, and I think it's really only happened once. But yeah, this is several years ago. I had a guy who, came to me for nutrition coaching, severely overweight, had a lot of health issues. I think what ultimately brought him to me was the fact that he had gone to the doctor and, get all the bad news.
Yeah.
So he got all of that. And in his head, I think he knew he knew that he needed to do it, but he was not there to, like, he was not ready to do it. Like, he knew it, but he didn't really know it. He wasn't really ready for the change. And we worked together for a couple of months, and like he would miss his check-in, because typically, depending on how it's set up, I have a couple of different packages or whatever, but typically there's like weekly check-ins, or some of them are even daily check-ins, or every other week check-ins or whatever. And like I would text him, I would make a comment on whatever something that he ate, if he didn't put stuff in MyFitnessPal or didn't send me a picture, like, again, depending on the client, I'll have people track food differently depending on what works for them. But anyway, it was very obvious that he was not truly in it. And so at the end of the 3 months, because typically I'll do like 3 months at a time, I was like, look, I just don't think you're wasting your money. Like, I'm just going to be flat out, like, because you don't respond. You miss your live in-person check-ins, or if we would do a Zoom call or something, like if he was traveling or something. And I'm like, I just, so unless something's going to change, I don't think it's worth your money. And obviously I didn't say it to him like this, or my time, because you just aren't responding. And so I am more than happy to be here to support you when you are ready. But I think you need to give this all some thought. And maybe I'm not the right person. Maybe I'm just not doing something that is like, that's resonating with you. So maybe you need to find somebody different. But yeah. So
that's such an important point to make, I feel like, when you are coaching someone, is that, one, you're not just going to continue to take their money when things aren't progressing. I mean, that's the mark of someone who's an honest and, truly capable coach. But two, sometimes people don't fit right, or, he needs, something stronger, or maybe less, because I can see you being pretty adamant about what needs to be happening. Or like you said, he just wasn't ready. But the fact that you were honest with him, I mean, I just feel like that speaks volumes of your your credibility. And
it doesn't do anybody any good. And certainly you're going to go through periods, like life's going to get busy and you're going to miss a check-in, or but like, it was just kind of, and again, you guys know too, like once you work with people for a while, you can get a fairly good feel of like, okay, is there a lot going on? And this person just needs a little bit of grace and hand holding through this period until they get through it? Or are they just really not, like, they're just not really there and ready yet?
Right.
And that's okay. And, you try to help them the best you can, and then be there whenever they are ready.
Yeah. I think that's true with any, I just think of any type of coaching, and just myself. Like, there have been times when I've worked with a coach and it's been super helpful. And I think of Lara with her working with her business coach, right? Like, where the client shows up, they're really motivated. They are clearly like, there's a difference. And then there have been times when I have just sort of been like, you know what? I have gotten to a certain point. I coming and doing my coaching with another, having somebody coach me. There have been times when I've been like, I need to take a break and sort of process everything that we've done, sort of see what's working and what's not working, because just doing more is not going to move me forward. So I think that takes a lot of self-awareness too on the client part. And a lot of times people just, like you said, just aren't there yet, or don't have that self-awareness. And they think like I think sometimes people think, well, if I pay for the coaching, that I check the box and that takes care of the problem. Right? And you still have to do the work. Like, the person has to do the work. So that's a good answer, Amy. That's a good answer.
Funny. Just as you were saying that, I was thinking about, we had my running coach, Jackie Wilson, on here, who is a freaking amazing running coach. And I love working with her, and we actually still keep in contact. But I'm not currently coaching with her because I just kind of fried myself out a bit with running. And I'm like, look, I'm just wasting your time, because I'm going to miss runs because I'm just not feeling it right now. And this has absolutely nothing to do with her as a coach, because she's great. But, I am just, but I know that, because I've been doing this game long enough that I know when I'm just not really in it. And again, that's okay. It's kind of the season of where I am right now. And I think it's starting to come back now a little bit, but But yeah, I mean, it has zero to do with her as a coach.
Right.
You know, that's all on me.
It does take self-awareness, though. I love that. That's a good way
Mm-hmm.
to. That's a good way to put it. Is that it's sometimes it's not about anything but the fact that how self-aware you are in any given moment, and it might depend on a lot of outside factors. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. You
well,
guys and your questions.
I guess I can go with a question. I was thinking just because ever since I've known you, like I didn't meet you and think, oh, she's the fitness guru. That's not my initial impression. That was not Amy when I first met Amy. It was, but what I did notice right off the bat was that Amy's a leader. And Amy was always had this leadership personality without being aggressive in any way. She just was a very natural leader. So I always appreciated working with you on that level because I was a person who was relatively new to the company, and I really loved the organization and the way that you took care to make sure everything was set up for us. And like whenever we would work together and go out on calls together, it just was so easy. And we worked really well together, but I noticed that there was definitely this leadership quality. And I was kind of wondering, like, that seems like a natural thing with you. Like, and now that you are stepping into the role more and you are a fitness guru for real now, and you're a coach and you lead this wonderful group of ladies, like, where did that come from? Like, where do you think you got that sort of leadership gene or whatever it is?
Well, first of all, I think that's hilarious because I definitely do not think of myself that way.
You are. You're like a role model leader.
That's really freaking funny. Now I want to know what else you guys think about me because this has been kind of enlightening, actually. That's a really good question.
I mean, do you think it's natural or do you think it's learned?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think, like, some of it, I don't know, thinking back now, like, on my past and, like, whatever. I think some of, like, so I was in, and this might sound really strange, but I think this is probably part of it. I was in 4-H and FFA growing up. And so through that, like, you had officer positions and all of that. So I don't know if maybe that has something to do with it. Because, like, I was, in my horse club and my pig club. Fun fact to know and tell about Amy.
Wait, I didn't know the pigs. You have to talk about the pigs.
Yeah, so I showed hogs in 4-H from the time I was 8 to 18 because that was the age limit, and then in FFA until I was 21 because again you age out. But yeah, fun fact to know and tell is I actually paid for a very large portion of my college from showing hogs and then selling them each year after the show and stuff.
Oh my gosh, I never knew that. Little known fact.
Yeah,
There will be a quiz.
Really funny. Oh my gosh, if I could find these pictures. My very first year showing, I really, really did not want to sell my hogs because, of course, they were like pets, and what happens to hogs when they leave a livestock show and sale. And so I was 8, and I cried and cried and cried, and so my family like got together and bought my hogs back, and we brought them back home. And that winter, oh my gosh, this is way more than you guys need. But that winter, so where the barn was and stuff at my parents' house, there was a pear tree that was up closer to the house. So when I would let the hogs out to walk them, because you have to exercise them to build muscle and stuff.
Wild.
Like during the summer, they would run to the pear tree because they would want to eat the pears. And so in the wintertime, they would do the same thing. But of course, the pears weren't there. And me being the little industrious child that I am, I made up this. Oh my gosh, this is such a blast from the past. I made this like little harness out of baling twine, and I would open the door on their pen, and I would like throw the harness over them, and I had a sled hooked up to it, and they would like tow me up to the pear tree.
Okay, I'm having the funniest visual right now of Amy riding a sled
a
behind a
team
big
of
pig.
hogs.
Yeah, it was just one at a time. I wasn't industrious enough, I guess, to make a team harness. But yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I totally forgot about that.
For
But
those
yeah.
of you who are not farm girls, baling twine is like string, basically, that goes around a bale of hay, and it's not super thick, but it's really strong. So
Yeah.
the fact that you decided you could just create this harness is cracking me up.
My mom always said she wished she would have called a news station because it was
Oh my gosh, hysterical.
entertaining. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that. But anyway, so wow, that was a diversion from the question.
Not really. I think that really lends itself to the answer to Larry's question.
I think I feel like you.
I mean, if you're doing that at 8,
yeah, at 8 years old, you were coming up with solutions to your everyday problems.
Or being really lazy and didn't want to walk to the house. So.
But still, solution to the problem, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of the definition of a leader right there, isn't
Yes.
it? Someone who comes up with solutions to problems and shows other people the way.
Right?
Yeah. But there's your little
That's the best
fact
story. I'm still like,
but,
I just wish I had a photo of that.
I know there are photos somewhere. And I definitely look like a boy in the photos because my hair was, I was such a boy, like growing up. Oh my gosh. That's why I wear a hat all the time. I'm still a boy. I just let my hair grow longer. But no, I do think I don't know, that probably has something to do with it, just because, I was always kind of once I had been in the clubs for a couple of years, like some sort of leadership position or something.
Well,
and then
shout out to the FFA and 4-H for creating, that's part of the goal, I think, of those programs, are to create young leaders, future leaders, and farmers.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I have one more question for you, and then maybe Michelle can come back. But I guess this kind of goes hand in hand, so I guess I'll just go with my second question. But I mean, like I said, when I met you, you weren't like all that into fitness, but I could tell you were driven and you were a leader. But then over the years, I've noticed how your fitness acumen has like really grown, and you've really honed in on some different things, but you also like tackle new things all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
Oh my gosh.
It's not like, okay, I ran a marathon, now I'm done, it's good. Then it was like, oh, I'm going to do trail running. And I'm like, well, that sounds really hard. And then it was like, now I'm going to do some running with dogs and training the dogs and do it. And I was like, what drives you? What drives Amy to like continuously like expand your skill set?
Not easy things. Like,
no, they're not.
Podcast. I mean, just learning, like, you'll just go on YouTube and figure it. I'm amazed too, Lara. Like, that blows me away about Amy all the time.
You guys are so funny. But the really funny part is, obviously this was not planned, but I actually have my North American Canicross sweatshirt on right now.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know the name of that fancy name for running with your dog, but apparently it's called Canicross.
Canicross, like canine cross country, basically. Yeah.
Okay. Do they have an organization that we can put in the show notes? Like,
yeah,
there might be listeners going, I want to do that.
Yeah, it's North American Canicross. I am not really. I'm just a member, and Archie is registered.
Now you're their new spokeswoman. Then.
I know. Like, I really have nothing to do with them. I am like such a rookie at any of that stuff. So this is not a not a sponsorship opportunity or anything like that. But it is really cool.
It could be.
Yeah. As I like go off down, no pun intended, down all kinds of trails right now. I don't know. I guess probably I get bored pretty easily. And then I always, I guess, feel like it's so funny. I have a really good friend of mine that I've been working with on her running, and she's about to run her first half marathon here in a couple of weeks. And at one point in time, she hated running and thought she like I hate running. This is dumb. And like 3 miles was really far for her, so like a 5K was really far. And now like she
like her.
Yeah,
it is far.
And now like yesterday she ran 11 miles, and I was like, do you remember whenever like after a CrossFit competition on Saturday? So like, yeah, girl is killing her runs. It's just funny because I still remember being the girl who thought 3 miles was really far. But then like you do it and then you're like, well, if I can do that, then what can I do? And then like you get to a half marathon. I still remember when I crossed the finish line in my first half, I was like, I'm never doing one of those again. And then like I was like, well, but if I did that, like, can I do a full marathon? And then when I did that, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm never doing that again. And then it just continues to go and go and go. So I think the different activities, so like the Candy Crush, the CrossFit, the High Rocks, the running, the whatever, is just because Michelle calls me, what do you call me? Not a bumblebee, hummingbird.
Well, hummingbird, yeah.
Yeah. So like I want to like do all these things, but I'm like I'm never focused enough to get like really good at one thing, but I just want to like do a bunch of little things. This was a couple years ago. One of my CrossFit coaches, actually, I just saw him on Saturday. He said to me, like in the CrossFit world, there's all kinds of different movements, and there's like, you know, strength movements, and there's gymnastics movements, and endurance, and just all this different stuff. And he's like, you know, Amy, you're like good at everything, but you're just not great at anything. Sure, how I like, you know, I'm not, but I think because I like to do lots of different things, like I'm not the type of person that's going to be focused on one thing and just get really, really good at it. But I'm going to like be like medium at a whole bunch of different things.
So it's like you climb the mountain, but then you're always like, I'm going to climb the next mountain and the next one and the next one. Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like you're like upping your game every time you do something different.
Yeah. I don't know. And then sometimes I don't know. Oh yeah. And I got into biking. I don't, just all kinds of.
Yeah. Do you think it's a challenge? Like you like to challenge yourself maybe? Like that's part of it, is you just like the challenge of those things to say like, I did that. I could do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just like, you know, it's just kind of fun to see what you can do. And then like you kind of meet like a different group of, talk about like community. So like you meet a different group of people in kind of each of those, and some of them cross over, but some of them, you know, don't. So like, you know, each little community kind of brings its own thing too. So I don't know. Yeah, very cool. And I don't know if you guys can hear my dogs, but they are losing their ever-loving minds.
I keep trying to like. It's very faint. It's not loud at all. But my dog was in the way back here, so I had to like mute myself and fix her. Now I have a cat meowing. So
all the animals, yes,
we do. We're all animal lovers here.
We do love our animals. Hopefully, our podcast listeners like animals too, because they tend to make noise and appearances.
Yes, that's true. So hopefully most of you are okay with that. I was Shadow just said, yeah. Meow.
Good with
that. So just to back up really quick, and then I'll let Michelle go again. So yeah, I was thinking about that because you said you started running and 3 miles was hard. What made you take the first step into running at all? Like, did you have a mentor, or like how did that all happen?
That's you guys have good questions. Like, again, stuff I haven't thought about forever. So I still remember the day that I ran my first mile. And I ran it. So the girl that owned, or lady, whatever, she's like a couple years older than I am, that owned the barn where I had my horse boarded. Somehow, I don't even know how it got started, but one day we decided we should start running. I don't know. And we
conversations.
Yeah. And we went, I'm going to have to like text her whenever we get off of here now and ask her like, how did that come up? We went to this like local trail. It's a trail, but it's like a paved trail. And we ran a mile, and a good portion of it was either downhill or flat. And I still remember feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. And then from there, I don't know. I remember we did a 5K together, and I still laugh about that because I still remember like, oh my gosh, what am I going to wear? And like, what am I going to eat the morning of? And what am I going to eat the night before? And what, like all this stuff. And now I'm like, oh, for the love of God, just go freaking run. I don't even think about it for a 5K now, but, and then we decided again, for some reason, to just sign up for, we did our first half marathon together. So we trained for that. And then she kind of was like, I'm out after that. She was supposed to do a full marathon with me and then ended up getting hurt. So couldn't do it. But then she kind of was like, no, peace out. I'm done with that. And then I found more running people. So.
Well, it kind of goes back to community. Like we always talk about that, but like the community that you're around sometimes kind of just encourages you to keep going and reaching and doing the next thing.
Yeah. So true. Yeah.
I love those stories. Thank you for sharing all that.
That was way more than I had.
I loved it. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Michelle. Plus, there's a cat. I feel a cat coming in. I'm going to mute myself.
There's a cat coming in. I just that hummingbird thing. So that was from a talk that Elizabeth Gilbert, the woman who wrote Big Magic and Eat, Pray, Love and all of that. I had listened to her give a talk, and she talked about how some people are jackhammers, right? They pick a topic and they just drill down, and that's what they do, and that's who they are and all of that. And she had given a talk, and somehow that offended somebody in the audience when she was talking about, drilling down on a topic, and that person was like, God, that's not me. That's, am I a failure because I can't focus on one thing? And so she came, and I don't remember all the details, but somehow she replied back that, wow, like I didn't really think that through. And no, I think there are folks who are, that's such a pretty thing.
The cat makes an appearance.
Voila, who are hummingbirds, and they go from, topic to topic, thing to thing. And the really cool thing about hummingbirds is that they are the ones that cross-pollinate the different groups. So don't you love that? Like groups that wouldn't normally interact with other groups, or there wouldn't be a connection, that hummingbird person becomes the connection.
That's so Amy.
I thought that was so.
I'm a pollinator.
You are. And think about it, right? Because you're like, you think about all the different groups you're involved in, and not every, you're not going to connect every person with every person, but it's also ideas too, right? Like you pick up ideas when you do one thing that you bring to the next thing and the next thing. And I don't know. But anyway, that is you. That really, so it kind of,
so funny.
So it lends itself to my question. So, there are plenty of people that get into fitness and nutrition and do all the things and run the races, but not everybody chooses to bring that to other people in the way that you are. And so I'm just curious, what is it about fitness and nutrition that makes you want to share it with other people?
Because I'm sorry, my dogs are being very distracting right now.
It's okay.
I think I think we may be getting a delivery or something. So, because I just want, like, I feel like I just want everybody to be healthy. Like,
why?
Why would you not want to at least try? I mean, so don't get me wrong. Like, certainly I know that there are plenty of things that, you can't control and, all of that. But I guess why would you not at least try? Yeah. So, and I think some of that, and I've talked about it a little bit on here. So I think I've talked about it on here. If not, I know we definitely have all talked about it. But my oldest sister passed away from ovarian cancer. It's been 2013. And so I think that was kind of like the first maybe little like, maybe I should really start paying more attention to my health and doing things. And again, by no stretch am I saying that, if she'd have ran a marathon that, she wouldn't have had that issue. But I just feel like if you can start from a higher plane of health, I feel like Dr. Vandergrift used to talk about, like, starting from a higher plane of nutrition, then when you do get some sort of attack or some sort of challenge, anything like that, you're just in a much better place to face that.
Your body just has more ability to fight.
Yeah. So I think that was the kind of the start of it. And then you guys both know, but my mom had MS and spent, my gosh, 20 years in a wheelchair. And so I guess I just saw the challenges of, like, I guess on two sides of that, the challenges. And again, not saying that if her fitness and nutrition would have been perfect for, the 30 years before that it would have cured it or whatever. But I just feel like you're starting from a higher plane of health, if you can. So I saw it from that standpoint of, her health. But then I also saw it on the other side of, like, what it takes to take care of somebody. So, like, if you as a caretaker can be strong, because it's hard to take care of somebody. I mean, you guys both know. So I think, having that fitness and strength and all of that, if should you, God forbid, ever be in a situation where you have to take care of somebody, that you have that too. And Michelle, you talked about that just on our last episode about with your dad and all of that. So I think that's part of it. So I think just, seeing all of that for years just made me realize how truly important your health is. So it's made me all that more passionate about, like, no, you guys need to be healthy. You need to lift heavy things. As heavy as, like, what is heavy is different for different people. But, like, you need to lift heavy things. You need to put things down. You need to, like, get your heart rate up a bit. And you need to not eat bonbons and McDonald's every day. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. And we've talked about that on here. Like, God knows I am far from perfect at eating or fitness or anything, but at least try. And I just think it's really important that people take care of themselves, and because it just puts you in a better place when the challenges do come. And that's when it just made me think of some of the stuff with ultra running, which is probably not really the healthiest thing for you, but but one of the things that we talk about in ultra running and stuff is, like, pick your hard and, like, do things that are hard or do things that you're resistant to do, Michelle. Because sometimes you don't get to choose what that hard is. So, like, you best prepare yourself and know that you can face hard challenges and know that you can get through it. Because you don't always get to pick what that is. So
wow, that's a really good way to phrase that, right? Like, that's a really sort of mind-bendy concept, right? Where we talked about it a little bit last time, where the things that you worry about happening generally don't, and it's always some random weirdness that comes out of left field that and if you so that makes sense, like
and that's, I definitely got a bit of flack for some of my ultra running and stuff in the past, but I was like, you know what, no, because you don't always get to pick what's hard. So do the hard things when you get to choose what they are, and know that if you really need to, you can bail out, because sometimes you don't get the option to bail out. And that actually just reminds me of, there's a great ultra runner, her name is Sally McRae. She has the Choose Strong podcast, and she talks about that. Like, her mom died of cancer when she was maybe like 16, 17, 18, something like that, like pretty young. And, she talks about that too, of, like, why she does some of the crazy stuff, because she knows that you don't always get to pick, when things are hard. So that was I don't know that totally answered your question, but it's kind of in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
So, I just think it's really important to take care of yourself the best that you can. Like, and you don't have to be a, you know, it's not, you don't have to be a bodybuilder. God knows that's, depending on how that's done, is not probably the healthiest thing for you. So I think it truly is more of a function over, you know, aesthetics sort of thing.
I feel like that's like, now that I've been around you for a while through a few different things, and you lead up our, you know, Boss Mares group. So I think that's one of the things people most like about your approach, is how much, even though you definitely do some things that I'm like, oh, I don't think I'm doing that, but oh, good for Amy. However, your approach with, and I have to assume it's the same way with your clients, is very much around that functionality, right? And what is going to make that individual, we were just talking about it before we started recording, what can that individual do now that's going to make 20 years from now a whole different situation than if they didn't do these things, right?
Yeah.
And so all around that functionality, like, you know, what you can do, what your body will hold up to. And I do think too, is that you? Is that you, Amy? Is that your
It's
dog?
not me, but it's my four-legged children.
I do think too, and maybe we'll do another podcast around this, because I know we're getting close to time, but it's not just about the hard things for your body, but truly that mindset, right? Of this is hard and I can do it or I can even if you don't complete the whole thing, like the attempt to do the thing, right? I think that's such a big deal, like to try and fail and try again, like have that be normalized. You know, that just because it didn't work out doesn't mean you walk away. It just, you try the thing again, or try it a different way, or, you know, whatever. Anyway, that the whole lot of like really interesting things to dig into there. But I think you specifically are really, really good at working with people in a way that it's around functionality and what will work for them longer than the one session they're doing with you that day.
Yeah. And that definitely has shifted for me, I think, as I've gotten older too. You know, like doing the practical stuff, you know, one of the CrossFit coaches that I follow, you know, talks about like the way to stay out of a nursing home. Like, you don't go to a nursing home. I shouldn't make this as a general statement, but it's not like you know, you hit a certain, you go because you can't get yourself off the toilet, or you can't get yourself out of bed, or, you know, something like that. Like, it's generally, it may not be like this big dramatic thing. It's whenever you can't take care of yourself anymore. So yeah, I think, and that's why, and we've talked about it on here several times, like it's never too late. And there are some really cool things out there, like, you know, some folks who are on Instagram and stuff that do some, you know, just older people that are really super inspirational. And it's so funny that we were kind of talking about this, because I just did a CrossFit competition this past Saturday, and we did a masters team. So masters is 45 and up. You have to be 45 and up. And so our team did really well. But the lady that I did my very first CrossFit comp with ever, she was my partner. It was just pairs then. She was there with two other ladies. So this time it was teams of 3. And I actually texted her today to ask her how old each of the people were on her team. So there's 2 of them that are 67 and one of them is 69. And they are still doing like CrossFit competition. Wow. And she was like, you know, I know I'll never keep up with you guys or whatever. And I was like, dude, you are freaking amazing. And like, it's just so cool. It was very cool. There were actually 10 teams in our division. So there's like 30 people who are, you know, 45 and up doing it. We were just talking about this the other week when we were together about the Golden Girls.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yes.
When like, who was it? Blanche was like 46 or something on the
Yeah, the Golden Girls show, when it was on, their characters' ages were like generally in the 50s.
Yeah.
And
like,
there was one in the 40s. And I
Yeah, I think
mean,
it was
they made
Blanche,
them
wasn't
out to be like these little old
Ages,
ladies.
right?
And that was what,
That's-
80s? Was that the 80s or the 90s? Early
Yeah.
90s? I mean, I just think that's not that long ago.
It
And look
isn't.
how far things have come with aging in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's because I think I remember it was Blanche. I think we talked about was like 46, which is how old I am now.
So
And
she was like,
actually
was she the
was
young
like
one?
old, yeah.
Yeah.
And so and they made her older, like her actual age was like 46, but she was older. Was she in her 50s or something? Like her
Yeah.
character on the show.
Okay. So
Yeah.
they were all like supposed to be in their 50s.
Yeah.
But I mean, the
Like,
way, I mean, just the way they
Yeah.
looked and
Right.
for the most part, the way they lived, I just looking back, I just think, boy, we have made a lot of progress as far as what expectations are for aging.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
a great thing.
Yeah. And I think it depends though on who you're around.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Back to
yeah, we've talked
Community,
many
right?
times about
Oh
that.
my
Yeah.
gosh. Yeah.
Because
Difference. Yeah.
not
You need you need a cross pollinator in your group, like Amy.
yeah.
You need people to
Because some people like, think when
Bring you
to
down.
to, you're 40, like life is just
Yeah.
over and like you should just, not bother to try to be fit or
Yeah.
anything,
There's no hope.
Yeah, or like, oh, I
No
can't.
from here.
run. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't know. Well, that like all over the place. Not only am I'm a pollinator, I'm a squirrel too. But,
Something.
yeah.
Look, a shiny object.
Mhm.
I love
I
that
love it.
though. We've got all over the place, and we got our questions answered. I think.
Yep. I think we're good.
I'm sure Michelle still has way more, but
I
think
could
we should.
always.
I think.
I can
Yeah.
always.
No, I think
Always.
we are. I think we are at time. I don't think anybody wants to listen to this for that long.
Well, we are gonna include notes in the show notes. We're gonna have a link to Amy's information, how you can get in touch with her website, social media. And yeah, we'll throw a few other things in there that Amy recommends as far as like resources. If you're interested in health and nutrition or just like how to get started with that first step, that one thing.
Thing.
Yeah.
Drink your water.
Just pick one thing.
Yeah. Drink your water.
Drink
That was
your
a rough
water.
day. Thank you, Amy. I'll be forever grateful. That was a really rough patch. Oh my God.
I love that. Like you just make it, you're adaptable. You just make it
Yes.
easy for people to do what they're supposed to do. Just drink your water.
Yep.
Yeah. Because I think, and this is what it makes me, well, this could be a whole other soapbox of things and topic of conversation, but all the influencers that are online or like all this stuff, they kind of make it like you have to do this. I'm like, no,
you don't.
You don't really. Like you need to start where, the one of the things we talk about in precision nutrition, which is where I did my nutrition coaching through, is like meeting people where they are. So like you just gotta meet people where they are and figure it out and, go from there, because and your journey doesn't have to look like the next person. Just do something to try to take care of your health.
Bit by bit.
Yeah.
That's a really great spot, I think, to wrap it up.
Yeah, I think it is.
I think so.
You guys are good interviewers.
Aw.
Well,
you
were a good interview.
Thanks for being our guest. And
that was fun. Thanks for
Did I have a choice?
No, you did
No.
not. So there is
you
that.
did not.
Yeah.
And
That's
we'll I guess we should do our chant, and then we look forward to hearing any feedback. If anybody wants more information or anything, or has topics in mind for the future, let us know what you'd like us to talk about.
And next time we get to interview Lara.
Oh boy.
Ooh, that'll be
Save the best for last.
I'm scared.
We'll
I don't think so.
Don't be scared. Don't be scared.
be nice.
Be nice.
Aw. All right, we gonna go for it?
All right, who's counting us
Ready?
down?
Okay, I'll count down.
Okay.
Monkey
chatter.
chatter.
Monkey
Monkey chatter.
chatter.
Who you hang
Hang
with
with
matters.
matters.
I don't know about that.
We'll see how it goes.
Thanks, y'all.
Okay, peace out.
Thanks for listening to Monkey Chatter today. As a reminder, we want to let you know that while we think we are really smart, none of us are doctors or medical professionals. So anything that we say or suggest on this podcast should be run by your doctor before you make any major lifestyle, nutrition, or medication changes. Take care and be well, friends.